Welcome, gentlemen. So I'm going to share now the purpose of Men of Honor Rising. And the purpose of our gathering is to unite men globally as a tribe or a culture, a space where men can live and grow in three major domains: integrity, authenticity, and success. Now, basically, integrity means wholeness, or to integrate the rejected and denied aspects of ourselves, to be fully engaged with the development of self, of our businesses or our career life, and also our lifestyle. And inside of those three domains, I would say everything is included that there is to include in our lives. In the domain of authenticity, what I mean is the freedom to tell the truth, to give up compensating or trying to survive some old wounds and some self-defeating beliefs with certain strategies that are basically inauthentic. So we're also here to get real. That's being authentic with ourselves and to get real with others, to stop pretending, which absolutely results in nothing but a loss of power and actual freedom. That's what I mean by authenticity. Now, by success, I simply mean living purposefully and getting results. So those are the three domains where we'll be growing inside of Men of Honor Rising, and that's inside of the logo up there on the right-hand corner of the screen. So how will we do this? Okay, the how is, in our case here, we'll have sessions online in video format for now. The possibility of gathering in person is certainly viable, and for those of us who are in certain localities, we can gather together. But each session will be an opportunity for all of us to develop ourselves inside of what I call the 5 pillars of transformation. They're also known as 5 abilities. And those 5 abilities, or the pillars of transformation, are awareness, communication, generation, achievement, and fulfillment. Now, I'll break each one of these down briefly. Awareness means to me that fundamentally what I understood is that we are an awareness unit. We are an observer. And this awareness unit or observer we are is also a cause. We're a cause capable of producing effects. We produce effects in the domain of thought, emotion, feeling, sensation. We produce effects called results, and another effect that we produce is something called meaning. All right? So in this pillar, we're going to develop our ability to be aware of the relationship between the observer and causation, or the awareness causation unit we are. That would be my definition of what it means to be a spiritual being. And then become aware of the thoughts, emotions, feelings, and sensations, the corresponding results, and the various meaning that we construct about all of that. And so to me, that encompasses everything there really is to understand about consciousness of self. Okay? So that's what I mean by developing the ability of awareness. And there are many ways to get at that. I'm not going to go into those details, but each session will be dealing with the development of the ability of awareness. And there'll be different ways we do that, ways we share ourselves, processes, experiences, interactions, etc. The second pillar is communication, or second ability. Communication is something that most of us think we know how to do. What I've learned in having some pretty extensive communication practices is that I still am not great at it. And so there's plenty to learn. And there's so much inside of communication. And I have some wonderful distinctions and drills and practices that I'll be implementing in the groups going forward so that we can develop ourselves as better communicators, which includes our speaking and how we listen to other people. Part of understanding speaking and listening is that our speaking creates our experience, but so does our listening. And our listening also creates the people that we're relating with. And these are often not distinguished. They're not something we're conscious or present to. So we're going to practice ways of being more aware of that inside of our relationships here in these sessions, and then of course going out into our lives. The third pillar or ability we'll be practicing or working on is the ability to generate ourselves, or what I call generation, which basically means practicing turning ourselves on, right? Turning on emotional and physiological experiences at will so that we can expand emotionally and we can expand physiologically. And what that might look like is the way we generate ourselves vocally, the way we move our body, We might do some breathing to energize the system, to relax the system. Basically, it's getting in command of the physiology and emotional nature, and basically, being the one who's at cause over that, because we could also be at the effect of our emotions and effect of the feelings and sensations and physiological functions, right? But we can be aware of those and learn how to be less and less of the effect of those things and be more at cause. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't allow ourselves to have those experiences or that we resist what's there. We learn to be with it in a way that minimizes resistance to it. We start to reduce our resisting, and then we learn how we can generate. So part of it's feeling and being with ourselves as we are. The other part of it is how can we turn ourselves on in a way that we would like? Can we generate joy? Can we generate, power? Can we generate love? Yes, we absolutely can. And so there's a balance between feeling and experiencing what's there, and then creating the feelings that we actually would like to have. And there's many ways to get at that as well. The fourth pillar or fourth ability is achievement, which is what it says. It's where we discover what we want. Okay, what do we want to achieve? Why do we want to achieve it? Like, why is it important to us? What's the meaning behind it? What will it really produce? What's the impact it will give us or the world? And then how can we actually achieve it? So achievement will be part of our conversation as well, because we're all up to something. We all want something, and there's all reasons for it. We all have a purpose. We all are a purpose in this life. And that means we're moving towards something, towards some future that we're living into. And so we'll deal with that in our conversations and sharing together in support of one another. The last pillar, the last ability, is the ability to be fulfilled, or the pillar of fulfillment. So this is basically a special focus on acknowledging ourselves and also acknowledging others. Acknowledgement is a big component of fulfillment. It's not all that there is. Part of it is, acknowledging what we have accomplished, what we have achieved. That can start to create a feeling. Fulfillment is more of a feeling, and it's an internal experience. It isn't necessarily based on what we have or what we have achieved. It's about really just acknowledging what is present for us. Maybe it is acknowledging our achievements. But fulfillment is more of a feeling. It's a sensation. It's something we have to practice, I found. It's not something that's just automatic. We could be very successful. We could achieve a lot of our goals, but not experience fulfillment. We might not feel alive to all of that. We might still be very stressed out, maybe very irritable, have tons of money, or achieve the woman of our dreams, or whatever objects it is, but fulfillment may not be present. And so I find that these 5 pillars are really essential to true transformation, and really being conscious and having conversation and exploration and action inside of these pillars, developing these abilities. So that's the 5 pillars of transformation, or 5 abilities. I'm also going to share what I'll call a principle of transformation that's underlying everything that we're doing here. One is that we identify with a new creation. That we identify with a new creation. Okay, remember, this is a principle of transformation. We're not fixing a broken person. We're not looking at our past self wondering how can we fix that guy? How can we rearrange that guy or change that guy in some way? That is a losing game. The principle of transformation I'm speaking to is literally just straight up, out of nothing, identifying with an entirely brand new version of ourselves. This is very key. It has a very powerful and profound psychological impact on us. All right, a change in identity is the fastest way to change your behavior. A lot of times we're trying to transform ourselves by fixing our behavior, by changing or altering our habits. But our identity, like who we think we are fundamentally, and there's a lot of nuance to that. I'm not going to get into the details, but we will over time. But who we think we are determines how we behave. If we can alter the identity, the way we see ourselves, others in the world, we can radically alter our behavior. It is the most direct path I have found in my many years of coaching and counseling and supporting other people, and in my own personal transformation from a criminal and a drug dealer who nearly died from an overdose in 1999 to somebody who now lives in service to people instead of in selfish, taking from people. All right, so I discovered this principle is very powerful. We're not fixing ourselves. We're not changing ourselves. We're not even identifying with the failures. We might address that. We might honor that, to get complete with it, to really allow ourselves to release any identification with that. But the idea is that we're not fixing that guy. We are actually perfect, whole, complete, powerful, innocent, vibrantly alive, always. We were, we are now, we forever will be. So this conversation of Men of On Horizon is to get us into connection with that idealized state of ourselves that already is real and present, and let everything that's in the way of that come down. All right? So we're not going to identify with anything but the wholeness that we are. And if we might identify with other than that, and we'll deal with that. We might identify with failure, with guilt, with shame, with wrongdoing, but all of that can be counted as dead, literally. We need not identify that. So I promise you that this conversation, this group, this gathering, this culture, this tribe is going to learn what this means. And we're going to be that for one another. It is powerful, it's effective. You guys will find yourselves changing radically in the face of this ideal. It'll just be present in who we're being for one another. The more of us that catch on to this, the more of us that realize this are going to feel a freedom and aliveness that we have not felt in many years, if ever. And when that feeling of aliveness is present, it's contagious. It is the fire that will light the fire of every other man that comes into this group, and even the people in your lives. So we're not working on changing a broken self. We might address where we feel broken, we might address where we feel lost, confused, sad, all that stuff. But it is to release and let go, and to reconnect with the part of ourselves we can never lose. Perfect wholeness, completeness, and innocence. We simply realize that we are a new creation. So, by telling this truth, we discover the underlying reality of our perfect nature. That's basically it. So we're going to speak to that, and we're going to honor that. By no means, though, I want you or anyone here to take that as if you cannot share where you feel broken. I want to make sure that that's clear. If you're feeling hurt, you're feeling wounded, you feel like a failure, you're thinking of any of those things, that's fine. Please let me know what's going on for you. It's totally good. So it's just that I want everyone to be present to what we're standing in for ourselves and each other. That we're holding that every man here is perfect. With all that a man comes into this group with, he is perfect. There's nothing wrong with anyone. I don't care if someone comes in here and has really ruined his life, has had drug and alcohol problems, maybe killed some people in the past. People are looking for transformation. That means we got to put an end to the past and allow for a brand new future to come alive for each other, for this particular person, including ourselves. All right, is that clear, guys? That's what we're here for in part. There'll be more clarified over the days and the weeks of our gathering. I appreciate and honor you for taking the time to be here, to listen to what it is that I have to share about my intention and purpose for this group and this gathering. And I'm just looking forward to continuing to experience more and more of you guys coming in, sharing your contribution, and allowing yourselves to be contributed to by myself and everybody who's part of this gathering. So thank you, gentlemen.